Hello, everyone. My name is Justino, and today we're diving into one of the most catastrophic engineering disaster in history. And with my topic, it's the Sampoong department store collapse in Seoul, South Korea. This case is more than just a story of a building falling down. It's a story about decision making, ethics, and the real consequences when safety is ignored. We'll break this down into three key parts: what mistakes led to the collapse, what remedies were put in place afterwards, and how this event permanently changed the way we think about engineering. Here's a quick overview before we get into the details. On June 29th, 1995, at just right before 6 p.m., the five-story Sampoong department store suddenly collapsed, and more than 1,500 shoppers and staff were trapped inside. By the end of the rescue operations, 502 people were dead, nearly 1,000 were injured, and the entire building was reduced to rubble. It was one of the deadliest building failures in peacetime history, not caused by the earthquake or bombing, but by human error and negligence. This was a turning point not just for South Korea, but for global engineering and construction standards. Let's walk through what happened. The building was originally designed to be a four-story office building. During construction, the owners decided to turn it into a five-story department store. This might sound simple, just add another floor, but it's not that easy. A department store needs large open spaces, which meant removing structural support walls and using columns instead. They also thinned out those columns from the recommended 80 centimeters to down to 60 centimeters to maximize floor space, which reduced the building strength by almost 20 to 30%. Later, they added a food court on the top floor, which required heated flooring and heavy kitchen equipment, adding even more weight. To make matters worse, they installed huge air conditioning units on the roof, and when they needed to move them, they dragged them across the roof slab, cracking the concrete. Uh, in the days before the collapse, large cracks appeared, and the customers even reported hearing popping sounds. Instead of closing the store and evacuating, management decided to shut down only part of the top floor because closing completely would cost too much in loss of money or revenue for them. So by the afternoon of the 29th of June, the cracks had widened to several inches. The roof gave away and triggering a pancake collapse. Each floor fell onto the one below in it in just 20 seconds. All right, so this slide is critical because it's where the engineering lessons really came out. First, unauthorized design changes were made without recalculating the building's load bearing capacity. Anytime a building's purpose changes from, especially for this one, from office to department store or from four floors to five, engineers must perform a full structural redesign. And obviously, with this, that didn't happen. Second, is the column design was compromised. Uh, Thinning the columns and widening the spacing reduced their ability to carry weight, and there were no additional reinforcements or cross bracing installed to compensate the load. And third, uh, live load limits were ignored. The heavy food court, heated floors, and the HVAC that they moved on the rooftop far exceeded what the original design could handle. Four warning signs were ignored. Engineers noticed cracks 2 months before the collapse, and even on the day of the collapse, management had hours of warning. Cracks were visible and growing, but refused to evacuate because they didn't want to simply lose revenue for their business that day. And finally, safety culture was weak. Profit was prioritized over human life. This is painful but crucial part of the lesson here. Engineering decisions are not just technical, they are also ethical. All right, remedies and prevention measures. So after the collapse, South Korea realized major reforms were needed. First, building codes were strengthened. Structural modifications now require full reanalysis, not just approval by the owner. Second, the third-party inspections became mandatory. An independent structural engineer must review plans and inspect constructions, so it's not just the contractor checking in their own work. Um, and then third, strict load enforcement was introduced. Buildings now have clearly posted weight limits for rooftop equipment, um, especially for HVAC systems, and even um, food courts just for this instance, exceeding those load is illegal. And fourth, accountability became personal. The chairman of the company, Lee John, I think is how you say his name, was sentenced to prison for negligence. This sent a powerful message for everyone. Cutting corners is not just a fine, it can land decision makers in jail as well. And finally, emergency response systems improved. Today, evacuation drills, crack monitoring systems, and mandatory closures in case of structural danger are now standard. All right, so what was the impact on this on the engineering field? So this disaster changed engineering globally, not just in Korea. In schools, the Sampoong collapse became a case study in structural engineering and engineering ethics courses. Students learn not just the math, but the moral responsibility that comes with signing off on a design as engineers. Peer review and independent safety audits are now considered best practice worldwide. If a client requests a major design change, engineers are encouraged to push back and demand recalculations. It also drove innovations in structural health monitoring, sensors that can detect stress, cracks, or unusual vibration patterns before failure occurs. And more importantly, it reinforced the idea that engineers are guardian of public safety, like what it says in our code of ethics. Their duty is not just to their employer, but to the public who uses their structures every day. All right, so what can we take away from all of this? Safety must always comes first. If there are warning signs, just like the cracks, noises, and instability that happen here, you should shut it down and investigate. Every structural change needs proper engineering review. Cutting corners might save money today, but could cost lives tomorrow. Engineers have a duty to speak up, even if it's unpopular. Silence in the face of danger can make you just as responsible as the person who ignored the problem. These lessons have shaped how we build, inspect, and manage infrastructure today. And so, in conclusion, the Sampoong department store collapse was tragic, but it sparked meaningful change. It gave us a tougher regulations, better inspection systems, and a renewed emphasis on ethics and responsibility in engineering.